What's up, everybody? Fred Richani, TSC, your home for in-depth sports interviews and news updates. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. On this week's episode of the Sports Courier Podcast, I interview former NFL linebacker, a man who's been an American Ninja Warrior, and someone that is now a true entrepreneur and inspirational speaker to all, Anthony Trucks. He's someone that at the age of 3 was given away by his mother to foster care, stayed in foster care until the age of 14, and the road was not easy for him. But he motivated himself, he pushed himself into the heralded football program of the University of Oregon, later had a career in the NFL playing for the Buccaneers, Washington, and the Steelers, but unfortunately, his NFL career was cut short due to injuries. And he is now an entrepreneur and somebody that is inspiring people each and every single day. So if you want to take anything out of this interview, I'd recommend the one word of the day, and that is what best describes Anthony Trucks: resilience. Anthony, how's it going?
I'm going well. I'm doing well, man. I gotta have you hang out with me and introduce me when I walk into rooms. You're so excited, and it sounds amazing.
Hey, I do what I can. So, yeah. Anthony, I'd love to chat with you about everything you've got going on and everything else. But for any football fans that may remember you in your playing days, what can you tell us that you've been doing since your playing days? Give us a little nutshell before we dive right in.
Yeah, no worries. When I got done, I came home. I opened a gym because my degree's in kinesiology, and then I realized that I have a unique backstory that people enjoy listening to. So I transitioned out of the gym, and now I speak. So I travel the world, and I teach people how to make the shift to build a better life. And the shift is an identity shift to build a better life, personally, professionally, and physically.
And that's great. Now, I would imagine, though, when your playing days were over, it was pretty damn tough. And I'd imagine any athlete, whether they retire on their own volition or due to injury like you did, you go through maybe a little bit of a depression or some type of spell where it's like, man, I wish I could have done more, or, why'd I have to hang up the cleats?
Yeah.
How were you able to kind of get yourself out of that hole and into your new career?
One piece is I'm a family man. I've had a son since I was in college, so I didn't have the luxury of being able to hang out at mom and dad's house for a while. So when I got done, it was difficult because I had to figure out, who is Anthony without football? Like anybody, who am I without this job? Who am I without this relationship, or without my health? And whenever we lose a piece that becomes us, it's hard to transition into the next part of our life. For me, it was just by sheer force and having to survive. But the realistic part was, for me, it honestly came from figuring out what it is I was really supposed to be doing with my life based on what I'd experienced in my life.
And for those that don't know, you were in foster care, from what I understand, at the age of 3. For quite a while till 14, and it was not an easy road for you just to start playing football, let alone to get to the NFL. But I would imagine going through all those unfortunate experiences and be able to get to the highest level of professional sports that probably helped you later in life.
Oh yeah, it's kind of one of those things where they say get comfortable being uncomfortable, and I started my life out being uncomfortable. I was given away at 3. I was adopted by an all-white family. I was I had a son at a young age. College, I had my career that was the NFL, then lost that to injury. I almost went bankrupt a couple times in the business. I lost my marriage. 3 years later, got it back together. So when it comes to just navigating weird parts of life and having that discomfort that comes with it, I've navigated all of it. And I think the biggest thing is I'm still here. God willing, I'm still here. It's been a fun journey. I'm always every day learning, but I think it's kind of life gives you situations that suck, but they're actually opportunities in my book. To figure out what you're made of and what you can do, and then go and do stuff you never thought you could to live a super fun and amazing life. That's what I look at.
Yeah, and when you did get out of the NFL and we did transition to entrepreneurship and life coaching and helping people, there's not necessarily a manual for how to be an entrepreneur. Everybody's journey is different. What help did you have along the way as far as anybody steering you in the right direction? Because what I understand, even to this day in the NFL, there's still not a real roadmap of, hey, if you happen to lose your career in a couple of years, here's what you do.
Yeah, no, there's none. And that's the hard part is a lot of the guys that leave the NFL or any situation, when you leave and you've been directed a certain way for so many years, and now you're in the captain's chair, there's no way to figure out how to navigate it. You just have to literally learn by failing. And I think for football, you kind of leave that realm. And one hard part about that is we leave with big egos. So we enter this world where we've typically, everybody wants our autograph and, everybody wants to be around us. And so we come home and think, well, I'm still special. But the reality is you're only special because of that thing you don't have anymore. So you got to kind of hunker down a little bit, bring your ego back to earth, I'll call it, and figure out how to get to the next step. And a lot of it is being able to humbly ask for help in an area that you don't know anything about. And realizing asking for help doesn't mean you are less than, but you're better for seeking out something to make yourself better.
So when you decided to ask for help, I mean, who was the first person or first couple of people you turned to?
After sports?
Yeah, after sports.
Honestly, I went with a guy. I had no idea who he was. I started my business and it was failing, and I had no idea what I was doing because my ego was like, well, I'm this former NFL athlete. I got a degree in this stuff. Everyone's going to train with me. And then I had no business sense. And so I actually literally got to a point where I had 2 weeks where I was served with eviction papers from my landlord. I had 3 years left to pay on the lease. They gave me a 2-week window to come up with it, or they were going to evict me, and I was going to have to go bankrupt. And the first thing I did was obviously talk to my wife, and she was pissed, and it wasn't a good situation. But then I really actually went and I hired somebody with the last money I had, and they helped me figure out how to get out of that hole and get a grasp of what it meant to be an entrepreneur, what it meant to run a business, which really isn't just being great at something, but it's being great at getting someone to experience what you do.
And what would you say as a guy who failed and is now a success in business? What's like the biggest do and what's the biggest don't when it comes to business?
The biggest do is know your numbers. That's one thing that I heard early on, but for a lot of years, I never knew what it meant. But a lot of people in the space of any business, there's segments of what creates a business, but people just jump in and start doing stuff, and they have no idea if what they're doing works because they never have any way of tracking it. So find somebody who can help you track the numbers at every stage so you know what you should be doing. What you should not do is dive head first into something and quit your job. A lot of people say, well, if I want to get this thing going, I got to give it 100% of my time, and I'm going to quit my job and I'll just figure it out. And that never works in my experience. And so what I recommend people do is use your job as your investor for your business. Take the time to keep your job, pay your bills, stack some money if you need to save. And then in your after hours, like if I get off work at 5 o'clock, go home and then start your second job at like 6:15 after you get like a shower. But you have to think of it as a separate career you're developing in the time that you have that's free. Don't go home and binge watch Game of Thrones and sit in front of Netflix and do that.
When did you realize, like, okay, I'm not just really good at speaking to people, but I'm something that can actually make this a career and make this my livelihood?
I was always a talker. I was the guy that never shut up in class, which is kind of like my gift and a curse. And so I knew at a young age I could talk, but make a business out of it, that was never an idea until about like 2014, I want to say. I'd been speaking in the fitness industry, but always on speed and agility and fitness type stuff. And then it came a point in time where somebody asked me about my personal life, like how'd I get to this level? And I kind of, told them what it was. And then they asked, hey, do you mind talking about that instead? And so I kind of went out and started talking about it. And I have a weird knack of being able to, it's called extemporaneously speaking. I can just talk and craft ideas as they come out of my head, oddly. And I found that was something that I was able to do, not just because of, what I'd done or my accolades, but over my years of life, just learning, experiencing, understanding how to share it and simplify concepts. And then from a speaker standpoint, I just like to make sure that whatever I give people, the words make sense. So I flow, I talk, and I have teaching in the background as well. So I'm not just a guy that talks a whole lot, but I actually try to give people something they can walk away and say, that's my step one.
What is the biggest similarities you think between being a professional athlete and being an entrepreneur? Is there any crossover as far as like investing in yourself or anything like that?
Oh, 100. To be honest, this is going to be a number. It's so good and bad, but since 2014, I think I've invested over $500,000 into my education now.
Wow. It's
just consistent. And in football, it's different. Like you're not always investing money, but you're investing so much of your time. And the carryover is it's something that I wish I could talk to guys who come out of any sport, not even just guys, women too. But the big thing is we were taught as athletes to really dig in and push hard physically. We're taught to really grind and put that physical effort in, perseverance, stick-to-itiveness, like deal with the hardships, the injuries, and just push. And that intangible, it can apply mentally, but so many athletes come out of sports and don't comprehend how to apply that physical perseverance to a mental perseverance and stability and strength. And those who do can carry over amazingly. So like when I hit roadblocks in my business, I can't run and tackle the problem. Like you can't. I have to mentally tackle it. And that takes just as much energy as it would physically, but understanding how to use that and how to carry over from football to my personal, like my businesses now, knowing how to do that's been so, I think, paramount for me climbing the ranks, so to speak, in the industry.
All right, so silly question. Why the hell doesn't the NFL Alumni Association have you employed right now?
I don't even know, man. I know what, I'm a guy that floats around. And to be honest, whenever I left the NFL, I left kind of like, I was hurt, and then the team I was with, there's some things they did that I'm not a big fan of, and so I just kind of pulled away from the game. I didn't even watch the game for probably 3 years after I was injured and left. And so to be honest, I don't know. I have not reached out to them. It'd be pretty cool, man. I'd love to go back and get some insight.
Yeah, I feel like you'd be a great help to a lot of the guys there, past and present, especially with money management and just, everything else. Now, you did happen to be on a little show called American Ninja Warrior as well, which kind of really got you back in the spotlight, per se, and maybe your biggest spotlight is because, you're focusing more on the people and the characters and their stories as opposed to the NFL, where you're just kind of wearing a helmet. How'd you get involved with American Ninja Warrior?
My wife signed me up, man, without even telling me, actually.
She's a keeper.
She took the liberty to sign me up and then realized that, like, she was literally going to sign me up without me knowing. And if I got a call, it was going to be a surprise. But she got like 90% through it and realized I had to do a video and film it. So she's like, hey, you got to do this video. She had to let me into the news. So I did the video, filmed it, sent it over, and then forgot about it for like 3 months. And then randomly got a call like, hey, this is so-and-so from American Ninja Warriors. Want to let you know you're on season 9. Like, oh, all right.
Cool.
And so that's how it worked out, man. And so we just got done filming season 11, actually. So it was my 3rd season and season 11 for the show.
That's great. And how would you compare it physically to football? Obviously, you're not, tackling anybody.
Oh, yeah.
But I imagine there's still a whole lot of endurance and mental fortitude.
Yeah, way different. I mean, the thing is it's you get one shot and you're done. Most people think we get to go practice that stuff. You show up, they put you in a pen, they walk you through it one time, you watch someone do it, and they say, all right, your turn. And if you fall, you're done. Like, that's it. You get one shot, and then you go home. So I guess the immediacy of having to figure out how to figure it on the fly is unique. Football, you get multiple plays. Like, I'll go out there and make it 60, 70 plays a game. And Ninja, you get one. And it's way different, whereas football's big lower body. This is all upper body. And in fact, for me, it doesn't help that I still have a big lower body from playing football. But oddly, I have really good grip strength and body control. So I end up doing really well in the show, even though I'm probably a good 60, if not, some of the 100 pounds heavier than the other competitors.
Now, you played defense. You were a linebacker. Defense is very different now in the NFL. I know you probably didn't get to play as long as you wanted back in the day, but are you thankful that you got to play in that era of the NFL than in this era where, let's face it, it's a pretty offense-heavy league?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be. I mean, it is now because that's what sells tickets. Yeah, man. I mean, I was kind of there at the cusp, but everybody was getting, it was all fast and spread out and speed. And so I was kind of one of the guys at the time. It was what they would call an undersized linebacker, whereas nowadays I'd probably be an average-sized linebacker. So, I mean, I prefer – I mean, the time that I played, I preferred it because it was kind of thing where the offenses weren't as proficient at it, whereas now, yeah, it might be scary if I just stepped in the field right now to figure it out.
And for those that don't know, you also play at the University of Oregon, which is a hell of a – still to this day, one hell of a football program. Are you involved in anything football-related these days?
I coach my son's flag football team. It's about the extent of my football involvement, to be honest.
Cool. So you've had your fill overall.
I've had my fill. My kids, one does track, one swims, one does soccer and football. And if he does football, great. If he does soccer, great. Legitimately, like I don't have any vested interest in the game at the moment. My focus has truly been on other people, other humans, and helping them in their lives. So football, if that was, someone came as a football player said I need help, I could definitely help them. But it wouldn't be some out of my way where I'm going to go and work with football players specifically. You
don't have to necessarily get into specifics as far as like name or anything like that. But is there a story that sticks out to you of a person that you worked with and you saw their growth from start to finish? One that, at one point in time was at the lowest of the low and is now doing well for themselves?
And just like what, football or in life? In life.
Like since after football, since you've been working life coaching, is there one story you can kind of point out to for people that may say, okay, I don't know if I need a life coach or anything like that? Just to kind of give them an example of what you do and the impact of coaching.
Of course. I mean, so what I do isn't life coaching per se. I work on more the think about it like programming. Like if you look at an assembly line computer, there's a program that runs that computer to do a specific thing, and the output is a perfect piece of material. For us as humans, we're kind of like those robots, same template, different programming. And so if your programming is kicked up or upgraded, you can kick out and do so much, have such great output, and create a whole different life. But most people run off of, we'll just call it haphazard programming. It was kind of just like they let it happen, and it wasn't really guided, unintentional. So what I do is I help people program. One guy that stands out was a great human being, name's Melvin McDowell. And what he does, he's a therapist. When I first kind of happened to cross him, he was probably, I want to say, like over 300 pounds. He was kind of like a state job he didn't like so much. And he actually went to USC and got his certification as a therapist, but he was working out of like his church's side room. And so I started work with him. And after, I want to say, maybe about 6 months, he kind of was able to blossom out. He went back right after we first worked together, got 27 clients in one day. At this point, he has now left the church. He's actually just opening his third practice. He's lost, I want to say, about 120 pounds.
Wow.
He's actually retired his wife. So his wife now works with him. He has staff of almost 60. He's in the sought after therapist in his area. So he's one of those guys that he had the template, he had what he needed, but the programming wasn't in place. And so I step in and help with the programming, we'll call it, to really help you comprehend what you need to do to get your beliefs, your thoughts, and your actions in line to build the life you want.
That's amazing. That's amazing, man. That's wonderful. Glad to hear he's doing well, and obviously in much better shape. All right, we got a few quick hit questions. You ready?
Yeah.
Who's the best athlete you ever played against?
Adrian Peterson.
Great answer. What was your favorite team to play on?
College or sport or football or NFL or all of them combined?
All of them combined. Which
Oregon.
Oregon?
Oh, for sure, Oregon.
Okay. NFL then.
NFL, Pittsburgh Steelers. They're more of a home, like real guys, like a good family team. Not to say the other teams weren't great, but it wasn't in comparison to how the Roonies had that team running and how Coach Tomlin was a phenomenal coach.
Did you participate in the NFL Combine back then?
I did, 2006.
Okay. Did you get any of the wacky, weird questions that we always hear about these kids getting these days?
No, I think I had one interview. It was one of those like random questions like, hey, do you think you can keep this weight? That was the extent of my weird questions. The rest were just normal. But they didn't pull me into a room or anything and ask me, like, if you had 2 toenails, which one do you cut first?
Yeah, those questions are a little weird. Most awkward moment as a football player and as a businessman?
Oh, man, awkward moment. Well, the awkward moment for business was when someone served me with papers. To be evicted. That one was awkward, but I guess that's more of a sad, not so much awkward.
Yeah.
I say awkward is a lot of the messages I get from non-heterosexual men. Those are some of the most awkward. I don't know how to respond to them all the time, but yeah, I get messages that are, they're unsavory and they're comedy at the same time. Football, the most awkward football moment, if I was to say just in the whole experience, was when I was playing with the Steelers, a buddy of mine named Scott Paxson. They call him T-Rex. He was real big. He had a soccer ball he would keep in his locker. And after practices or games, whatever it was, he would pull the soccer ball out and run around playing soccer naked.
That's quite interesting. Because the next thing I was going to ask you is who was the funniest player you ever played with? And that sounds like it's that guy.
He was one of them. The funniest player who I ever played with was Ontario Smith. He was a guy that came out of Oregon, played with the Vikings for a little bit.
Wait, is he the Wizinator guy?
He is the Wizinator guy, man. He is hilarious, though. Like, he was hilarious when I was in college.
Yeah, he could ball back in the day. To make the mistake about it, before that whole thing, he was a hell of a player.
Yes, he was.
All right, what is the day in the life like of Anthony Trucks? Like from morning to when you go to bed?
Yeah, 5:30 a.m. I get up. I do some work from like 5:30 to 6:30. I take my son to the carpool for his school he goes to. I come back. I usually hop on and do like emails and send computer stuff, like whoever has to go to. My twins go to school at about 8. From 8 to like 2, it's a plethora of just phone calls and meetings and podcasts and coaching clients and nonstop until my kids get out of school at about 3. At 3 o'clock, I'm with the kids and the family, and we're either playing games in the backyard or I'm coaching sports or having dinner and I'm making dinner. It's just after 3, I'm a regular everyday guy.
So how do you time block? Because when you first become an entrepreneur or somebody that's very successful in their own business, I mean, man, like I'm sure it's hard to juggle. Like how do you discipline yourself? Say, okay, other than obviously picking up the kids or dropping off the kids to school, like, okay, this is the time for family. This is the time for my wife. Yeah. This is the time for me. Like how do you time block all that and make so you're not going crazy?
Well, I have a really specific process. I don't have enough time, I think, to go into it in depth. But the biggest way to look at it is I choose what projects have to be worked on. I deconstruct them into the amount of hours or steps they have to be. And then I create a schedule that lets me put things that matter in first. So family time, eating, working out, that's all in. And then the extra spaces I have, I take those different project steps and I infuse them into my schedule. that allows me to work on stuff without having to be, distracted by other projects. I can hyper focus on one, get it done, and then not just stress off when the rest of the things are going to be completed. So when I'm with my family, I can be with my family. When I'm at work, and nothing I don't have project A seeping into project B, C, or D. It's true focus, productivity, get it done, move on with my day.
Now that's a sign of a man who definitely has his ish together. So I'll get you out here on this. What's the best piece of advice you give anybody for success, football, entrepreneurship, or otherwise?
Get help. Find somebody that's been down the path you're heading down and you get some help. Because if not, you're going to sit there and spin your wheels. Most people think that trial and error will get the work done, but it never works if you're trying the wrong stuff because you just don't know. So don't reinvent the wheel. Don't rely on trial and error. Get someone who can tell you what to do and then go that route.
Fantastic. Well, Anthony, I really do appreciate the time. You can find him online on Twitter at Anthony Trucks. AnthonyTrucks.com?
Yeah, AnthonyTrucks.com, man.
So pretty much everything Anthony Trucks. Just Google Anthony Trucks, search him. You'll be able to find him. Anthony, really appreciate the time. Very inspirational stories. Some great advice, too. I think everybody listening to this will get some value out of. So thanks so much.
Very welcome, man.
Has Madden made enough improvements for longtime fans and newcomers alike? You're about to find out.
And all the way in for the touchdown. Julio Jones, 54 yards. And the NFC has taken the early lead.
Fred Richani, TSC, your home for sports game reviews and updates. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. I'm here to give you guys my thoughts on Madden NFL 20 on Xbox One, also available on PC and PS4. Madden 20 is the latest installment of the legendary football game series and boasts a revamped story mode and an X Factor player feature. Of course, you still have the always fun online play, Ultimate Team for those that like forming dream squads with the occasionally obscene microtransactions, along with my personal favorite, franchise mode. More on that later. Long Shot Story Mode has been replaced with Face of the Franchise Story Mode, which gives some serious NCAA football on 360 vibes, allowing your main character to choose where they want to play college ball. Clemson, Florida State, Miami, Florida, LSU, Oregon, USC, Texas, Oklahoma, and Texas Tech. You even get to play a little bit in the NCAA itself, although not nearly as much as some college football gamers would like. In comparison to Long Shot, the voice acting is pretty good.
That was a gutsy performance out there tonight. You took us to a national championship when nobody, and I mean nobody, expected you to. And for what it's worth, I'm really glad you stayed 4 years ago.
Thanks, Coach.
But the story lacks substance. Beyond the NCAA team licenses and nice-looking cutscenes, like Long Shot, there's the same tropes of every fictional football tale ever. I'm not saying the story of a player who parlayed a backup role in college into an NFL shot of a lifetime is boring, but I can't say for certain that this is a major upgrade from Long Shot. So beyond that, what else is different from Madden compared to last year? Well, there's the X Factor. No, really. That's it. Along with fancier TV presentation graphics and lower thirds. Seriously. X Factor is more or less a cooler version of in-game objectives, but with additional XP and the ability to really take over a game, but it's limited to Pro Bowlers and alpha dogs of a respective team, such as Aaron Rodgers, Odell Beckham Jr., and Saquon Barkley. In each game, you have to complete a series of objectives, such as catch 3 passes for over 20 yards. When the objective is complete, your player gains some serious momentum and at times can be damn near unstoppable. But here's the thing though, great players could take over a game in Madden 19 and 18 and 17 and so on. Sure, the respective X factors for each player are more defined here in Madden 20, but I wouldn't call this feature one that's a significant upgrade to the already solid gameplay we've had for the last couple of years. Which begs the question, what's really different about Madden 20 compared to last year? The problem is not much. The biggest area of potential improvement Madden 20 had was franchise mode, and here we are once again with the bare basics. In an era where WWE 2K and NBA 2K let you customize the absolute hell out of everything, Madden can't even be bothered to provide a face scan option for a custom player, coach, or owner, although you could still download custom draft classes and rosters. For the 4th or 5th straight year, my head coach looks like DJ Khaled gone vegan. Never mind the complete lack of rebranding tools at your disposal when it comes to the team's location, arena, and more. But wait, I almost forgot. This year's franchise mode includes text conversations between players and coaches. Wow! Seriously, is it really that hard for EA Sports to provide a fully customizable franchise mode that's at least half as robust as 2K's? It shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be, but evidently for EA it is. Now don't get me wrong, if you're new to Madden or somebody who will buy this game every year without fail, you will enjoy franchise mode. You will enjoy being able to fast forward through games where you can play only offense, only defense, or a combination of the key moments. In general, Madden at its core is a really fun game, but we're at the point where players want something new with depth. So what's the verdict? Graphically, I give Madden 20 an 8 out of 10. One of the better looking Xbox One games, and no real complaints for the aesthetics beyond the lack of appearance options. My coach may look like DJ Khaled, but we definitely not the best here. Gameplay. I give Madden an 8. Still very solid gameplay built upon last year, and gameplay that you can eventually get comfortable with the more you practice. For all my complaints about the lack of new content, there's still nothing like hitting OBJ with the money ball at the right place at the right time. And just remember, don't get too cocky because the other team still plays defense. And speaking of content, I give Madden a 6. If you're a new Madden player, you're in for a wake-up call when you compare the lack of content on Madden to 2K. If you're a longtime Madden fan like me, you're supremely disappointed with the lack of franchise mode customizations after having years for them to get it right. You'd think Madden's everlasting popularity would motivate EA to give us a football game we all deserve, but instead, it's only furthered the franchise's complacency. Overall, TSC Gaming gives Madden 20 on the Xbox One a 7.3 out of 10. Madden NFL 20 is a good game, but it's about damn time football fans like myself get a great game. This is Fred Richani telling you why you should subscribe to the TSC YouTube channel. Do you like hard-hitting, in-depth interviews? WWE World Heavyweight Champion Mark Henry. Fred Richani of TSC News standing alongside MMA legend Tito Ortiz. Do you like breaking news updates from the world of pro wrestling, MMA, boxing, NFL, and everything in between? Post-fight, Canelo Alvarez versus GGG, Gennady Golovkin. Do you like in-depth game and app reviews? TSC Gaming here to review EA Sports' NBA Live. Is WWE Network worth your $9.99? And do you like event coverage you won't find anywhere else? At New York Comic Con, the jam-packed Jacob Javits Center, TSC News here at E3 in Los Angeles, California. If you like what you see, if you like what you hear, keep it right here and subscribe to the TSC YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button. Don't forget to enable notifications. And until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the game.